When you're getting flamed by your teammates in Valorant, it's predominantly going to be pertaining to your KDA as a player. Luckily, Riot made it really simple for us to figure out who the scapegoat for our team is going to be. All you have to do is hold tab and look for the player at the bottom of the leaderboard. He's the problem. On the surface, this seems like it could be the best way to actually determine a player's value. Kills are important, so clearly the player with the most kills must be the best player on the team. This isn't another video talking about why kills aren't that relevant to a player's impact though. Instead, we're going to be taking a look at why your deaths are much more important than your kills and how you can maximize your time alive to win more rounds. As a reminder, this video comes from the #1 place to actually improve at Valorant, SkillCapped. We teach Valorant the right way by offering the best guides for players to climb at a low elo stupidly fast. Trying to mimic pro play or high elo streams, it's only going to slow you down because they don't show you how to exploit low elo like we do, which is definitely necessary when your teammates have worse aim than stormtroopers. In fact, we're so confident we're the only service that literally guarantees you'll rank up or you don't pay. For a limited time only, we're offering a discount code if you use the link below. So there's never been a better time to get started. We'll see you there. But now it's time for us to address the elephant in the room. Deaths in Valorant are actually a necessary part of the game and aren't even actually bad all the time. In pretty much any game you play, there's always going to be resources available for you to take advantage of. In a card game like Hearthstone, you have mana. In a game like League of Legends, you have gold. In a game like Valorant, you have credits. In all these cases, you'll use these resources to purchase something in-game that'll make you stronger or impact the game. But there are actually other resources in the game that players maybe don't think about. Sticking to our 3 games, in Hearthstone, health is actually considered a resource. There's no physical difference between being at 1 HP or being at 30 HP. In both cases, you're just as strong as you were before. You're just closer to death. The same thing could apply in League or Valorant. Theoretically, you can still do just as much damage. So, theoretically, it's actually okay to sacrifice a little bit of health to help gain some advantage over your opponents. In a game like Teamfight Tactics, for example, by losing health, you can build up a loss streak and actually gain more gold because of that. In Valorant, though, because the time to kill is so low, you don't really see players trading health for an advantage. Or do you? Because the time to kill in Valorant is so low, in most cases, trying to trade health for an advantage sounds ridiculous. You'd just get yourself killed. But actually, despite this, players in Valorant are constantly trading not only their health, but they're trading their lives for an advantage. This advantage normally comes in the form of territory, number of players alive, or in some cases, time. Deaths have proven to be a fundamental part of Valorant, and as a blanket statement, it's incorrect to refer to deaths as a bad thing. However, something that is important to remember is that after you die, your impact on the round is finished. Sure, you can communicate valuable things through voice chat, but the moment you die in the game is the moment you lose all control to have a physical impact on the round. This is incredibly important for matchmaking because sometimes it's not enough to just get yours. You need to be sure that before you die in Valorant, you had as much impact as you possibly could have in each and every round. One question many players may benefit from asking themselves more frequently might be, is this worth dying for? One of the biggest culprits of this issue is when players with the spike die for a plant. This comes in many different forms. Sometimes players will attempt to plant the spike before clearing the whole site. Sometimes they'll try to stick the plant through a brimstone ultimate. And sometimes they'll try to plant the spike in the open, despite the fact that it is most definitely not safe to do so. Going back to our previous point about how after you die, your impact in the round is over, you can see how with any of these situations, it's almost always not worth it to die for a spike plant. Is planting the spike so valuable that it's worth your entire life to do so? In some situations, the answer might quite literally be yes. If there's not enough time left in the round and you guys are going to lose if you don't get the spike down, then yeah, you're absolutely dying for that spike plant. But if you guys have plenty of time on the clock and you could save your life or a teammate's life by just clearing site, there's absolutely no reason for you to be dying for just a slightly earlier plant. People oftentimes rush themselves to do things in Valorant when they have way more time than they realize, especially when it comes down to 1v1s. rounds. You do yourself a favor to be more conscious about the actual amount of time you have left on the clock. Take a look at this round, for example.
No way, I had him 78 in the head.
Our Omen player has the enemy Phoenix pinned by the default box, and there's currently 49 seconds left in the round with the spike not planted. Phoenix does have the spike and he's attempting to fake a plant to try and bait the Omen out of heaven. When the Omen is falling from heaven, he's a vulnerable target and should be a relatively easy kill for the Phoenix. This is exactly the fight that Phoenix was hoping for. On top of this, if the Phoenix is full health, even if our Omen lands the first headshot, it's still gonna take a second shot for him to kill Phoenix. So it's not even like he has a weapon advantage here. I see what this Omen was going for here. He wanted to fight Phoenix as he was trying to plant the spike to keep the pressure on. But this brings me to our question. Is this worth dying for? Or to rephrase this question, if Omen doesn't take this fight, will there be a better opportunity to kill Phoenix later in the round? Personally, I would say yeah. Instead of jumping out of heaven, Omen could have used this time that Phoenix was trying to bait him to wrap back around stairs and approach this retake from a position where he wouldn't have to jump out of heaven and leave himself exposed, but also in a position where Phoenix might not expect him to be. One other great benefit about this reposition is that it wouldn't even make noise. By the time Phoenix actually gets the spike planted, Omen could be out back sight or scaling up graffiti, or for all Phoenix knows, he could still be heaven. After all, even if Phoenix plants the spike, Omen still has around 45 seconds to work with, so when you ask me the question, was canceling the plant worth dying for? I would say no. It was incredibly risky, and there was a way less risky alternative if he just took a little bit extra time to think about it. If you were paying attention though, you probably noticed this Omen player wasn't actually the one who submitted the VOD. So let's go back a little bit and see exactly what happened to our SkillCapped subscriber this round. So after already seeing how this round played out, do you guys think he had enough impact in the round? Most of you would probably chalk a play like this up to unlucky or, oh, come on, man, he just lost a gunfight. It happens. But just think about it with me for a second. He's playing Reyna, so he can dismiss away after this kill if he gets it. That being said, considering it's pretty common for teams to rush A on pistol round, he's likely going to be fighting 2, maybe even 3 players right here alone. So tell me, is fighting multiple people at the same time ever a good idea? Not really. On top of that, he didn't use any utility to take the fight. Nobody flashed for him, he didn't flash for himself, he kind of just ran up and took a duel from the only spot these players pushing short could possibly be peeked from. Of course this Omen was going to be prepared for this duel, there was nowhere else for him to aim. So now that we already know this is not the best idea, again, the question we have to ask ourselves is, was this kill worth dying for? Seeing as it's pistol round and both teams were even in numbers and weapons, we'd probably say no. I could see some situations in making a play like this worth it. Maybe your team's down in numbers and you desperately need a pick to even out the round. Maybe your team's on an eco, and by getting a pick in short, you'll get a gun down for your teammate in a retrievable location. But in this case, our Reyna player basically threw his life away without getting any impact in the round. And after seeing our Omen clip from earlier, we all know how that turned out. Basically, the question you should always be asking yourself when you die is, did I have enough of an impact to set my team up for success? If the answer is no, you might want to reevaluate how you played the round. If you have a lot of these zero impact deaths in your games, it might be time for you to start rethinking about the positions you're putting yourself in. And one last thing worth mentioning in this video though is that just because you're not the first one to die doesn't mean you're having an impact. In some cases, you can get 4 kills in a round and actually have almost no impact. For example, a player sits in spawn until all their teammates die. They kill 4 and then lose the round. Sure, maybe they did a little bit of eco damage, but like, did they really have any impact that round? They didn't help their teammates. And although they moved up on the leaderboard, their team still lost the round. This is the age-old topic that people always complain about with baiters. There's a healthy balance between dying too early and dying too late in the round generally. If you die too early in the round, you run the risk of not having enough impact to help your team win the round. If you die too late in the round, you run the risk of not helping your team enough, leaving yourself in an impossible to win situation. Unfortunately, both of these scenarios are way too dynamic for us to break down in just this video. There will be times where a player dies within the first 10 seconds and has an incredible amount of impact. There will also be times where a player's the last one alive but did everything they could possibly do to set their team up. It's really up to you at the end of the day to assess your impact in a game. How many kills did you get? How much space did you take for your team? How much space did you give up when you died? Did you help your teammates get any kills? Did you give your team enough time to win the round? All of these are potential questions you could ask yourself at the end of a round to determine your impact. One thing's for sure though, deaths in Valorant are incredibly important, and if you're not critically thinking about each and every one of yours, it will hold you back. As we mentioned earlier, if you're looking for the best way to actually improve at Valorant, we highly recommend checking out SkillCapped. We're the only service that teaches how the game is actually meant to be played at low elo, which is why we see such a massive success from our users. The game is completely different in elo hell, and if you just try to mimic top players, you're only going to hold yourself back. We recently just added a bunch of new commentaries where higher ranked players will break down step by step how they climbed out of every rank in the game. They'll walk you through each match they played and the most important rounds in the game. Much of the feedback we got in the past on our commentaries was that there were a lot of rounds in the games that didn't seem as important for the commentary. That's why we've made them 3 times as time friendly for you and only included the best bits. We did this because our one goal at SkillCapped is to help you become a better player. So if you're looking to climb in Valorant this act, be sure to check out SkillCapped. Besides that, we'll see you guys in the next one.